Have you ever considered that a 2,500-year-old spiritual puzzle might hold a secret that modern science would only crack in the last century? Well, in this explainer, we're going to do exactly that. We're connecting an ancient Buddhist claim with one of the most famous equations in all of history. Let's dive in. Okay, so let's just start with a question that kind of turns everything you think you know on its head. What if every beginning and every end you've ever seen was just an illusion? What if, at the most fundamental level of reality, nothing is ever truly born and nothing ever truly dies? I know, it sounds completely impossible, but stick with me because the answer is pretty incredible. To really get our heads around this, we first have to jump back in time. We're talking about a foundational claim in Buddhism that seems to fly in the face of, well, everything we experience every single day. So here's the core teaching, as explained by the revered Korean monk Seongcheol Sunim. He said that the ultimate truth the Buddha came to realize was this: all things are unborn, and all things are unextinguished. Now, what does that actually mean? It means that everything in the universe, from a star to you and me, wasn't just created out of nothing, and it never truly vanishes into nothing.
This idea has a specific name, Bulsang Bulmul, which literally translates to non-birth, non-extinction. And get this isn't just some side note or a minor point. The monk explains that the entire massive framework of Buddhist teaching is built on this one single, really radical idea. And right here, this is the central paradox. Our everyday experience tells us a totally different story, doesn't it? I mean, we see things being born, we watch them grow and change, and we definitely see them die. So how on earth could this ancient teaching possibly be true? For centuries, that was a question you'd leave to the philosophers and the monks. But then, in the 20th century, something amazing happened. The key to understanding this ancient spiritual claim came from a place nobody expected: the world of physics. You know, for most of human history, this idea of Bulsang Bulmyan was pretty much unique to Buddhist philosophy. Science, on the other hand, was all about separating the world into neat little boxes, looking at the universe as if it were made of a bunch of completely different things. So picture this. You've got these two totally parallel tracks running through history. On one track, you have this ancient Buddhist idea of fundamental unity. And on the other, you have classical physics, which was absolutely sure that mass, the physical stuff you can touch, and energy, the force that makes stuff go, were two completely separate, unrelated things. One set of rules for matter, a different set of rules for energy. But that was all about to get turned upside down. And the person who would, without even knowing it, build a bridge between these two worlds wasn't a monk or a philosopher. He was a physicist. And that physicist was, of course, the one and only Albert Einstein. And what's so fascinating is that just like the Buddhist teaching, his revolutionary idea was met with total disbelief. For years, many in the scientific world just brushed him off, calling him a dreamer for proposing something that seemed to violate all common sense. So what was this crazy idea that got everyone so worked up? It's called the principle of equivalence, or Dunga Woli in Korean. And what Einstein proposed was that mass and energy aren't separate at all. They are fundamentally the same exact substance, just wearing different outfits. They can literally transform into one another. And this is the mathematical language of that principle. We've all seen it a million times, E equals mc squared. But it's so much more than just a formula for atomic bombs. It's a profound statement about the very nature of reality. It's the recipe that tells us exactly how mass, that's the M, and energy, the E, are completely interchangeable. To really make this click, Seongcheol Sunim offers this absolutely brilliant analogy. Think of mass as being like ice. It's solid, it has a definite form, you can hold it in your hand. Now think of energy as being like water. It's formless, it's fluid, it's all potential. They look and feel totally different, right? But are they? Of course not. They are the same exact thing, H2O, just in different states. Ice can melt and become water, and water can freeze and become ice. It's a transformation, not a creation or destruction. Now, for a long time, this was just a mind-bending theory on a blackboard. But science isn't just about theories, it demands proof. And the journey to prove Einstein right was a long one, and a pretty dramatic one at that. So how did we go from this wild theory to a proven, undeniable fact? Well, the path wasn't straight. First, after decades of people being skeptical, came the terrible, grim proof of atomic bombs. They showed, without a doubt, that a tiny bit of mass could turn into a catastrophic amount of energy. But the ultimate proof, the full circle, came from particle accelerators. In these incredible machines, scientists finally did it all. They took pure energy and turned it into particles of mass. And then they took that mass and turned it right back into pure energy.
So, what does this actually mean for that big question we started with? It means that in our universe, nothing is ever really lost. Matter doesn't get destroyed, it just changes its form and becomes energy. And energy isn't created out of thin air, it transforms from matter. The total amount of stuff in the universe just stays constant. It just changes its clothes. In other words, science had discovered its very own version of Bolsang Bolmil, non-birth, non-extinction. This incredible parallel isn't just a cool, fun fact. It actually opens up a much deeper idea in Buddhism, a whole framework for looking at all of reality, not just mass and energy. It's a concept called Zhengdo, or the middle way. And the whole idea of the middle way is that truth isn't found by choosing between two opposites, like good and evil, or birth and death. It's about realizing that they're actually just two sides of the same coin. It's about rising above that black and white thinking and seeing the unity underneath it all. And this is where that scientific analogy becomes such a powerful key. It helps us unlock these really profound philosophical ideas. That classic Buddhist duality of form and emptiness, you can kind of see it as mass and energy. The idea of being versus non-being, well, that's reflected in how a subatomic particle can be both a physical point and a formless wave at the same time. And birth and death, they stop being these hard opposites and instead just become points in a continuous, endless cycle of transformation. And this isn't the only parallel, not by a long shot. Einstein also showed us that space and time aren't separate things either. They're actually woven together into a single four-dimensional fabric we call space-time. And this, again, mirrors another Buddhist concept of reality as this one, unified, totally interconnected whole. The takeaway here is just incredible. It's not that Einstein somehow proved Buddhism is right. That's not the point at all. The point is that these two completely different traditions, starting from completely different places, using completely different methods and languages, seem to be pointing toward the exact same fundamental truth about reality, that all the separations we see are kind of an illusion, and that everything is part of one dynamic, interconnected, and unified whole. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other profound insights hidden away in ancient wisdom traditions are just sitting there, waiting for the right scientific discovery to come along and help us see them in a brilliant new light?